May the 4th be with you, hobbyist. Today, in celebration of May the 4th, the day where we celebrate Star Wars, I decided to paint up the father-son duo we all know the best, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. As I said, hobbyists, we're celebrating Star Wars today, and the best way to celebrate Star Wars is having the father-son duo themselves painted up. These two come from the starter set for Star Wars Legion. This Luke Skywalker happens to be in the uniform from The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know about the Darth Vader. Doesn't really matter. They have a couple more Darth Vaders. There is a Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, the 6th movie in this series. So I thought, it'd be really fun to paint these two up. So first we're going to do Darth Vader, and then we will deal with Luke Skywalker. So we got our Dark Lord of the Sith right here. I primed him up in matte black from Army Painter, of course, because majority of Darth Vader is all black, so it just quickly removes a lot of steps. So first we're going to define all of the black on him, getting in all those recesses, trying to bring out all those little details using Grim Black Speed Paint mixed 1-to-1 with Speed Paint Medium. So the Grim Black has nicely defined everything on our Darth Vader, giving us some nice definition. If you are a Citadel painter, I would use Black Templar contrast paint mixed down with Lamia medium, just so you don't have the strong black color. But you could also use it straight, but I decided to mix it down just to dilute the color just a little bit. But anyways, before we do any of the other base coats on Darth Vader, like his saber, like all the little buttons across him, like the grays on his front part and the chain that holds his cape, we're going to dry brush the entire model with Dark Reaper, and we're going to use this very lightly because, again, when dry brushing Dark Reaper over black, or basically highlighting any form of black, just be very careful not to turn your blacks into grays. Once more, I'm going to use Dark Reaper from the Citadel to gently dry brush up Darth Vader to bring out all of those edges and highlight him up. So there is the completion of the dry brushing of the Dark Reaper over Darth Vader. Again, just picking out all of those raised edges and just giving some definition, but without turning the black into a gray. Again, just be very cautious when highlighting up blacks, you don't turn them gray. So I'm going to give a little more definition to the bottom of the cape here. I'm just going to thin down Dark Reaper into like a glaze and just scratch it up on the bottom just to show some more wear and tear to the cloak itself. Again, you do not have to do this step. I'm just going to do it to give some more definition to his cloak. So there is the Dark Reaper down at the bottom of his cloak, and the cloak piece right here, again, I glazed that on. I did use a little bit of wet blending as well, just to try to make it not so dark onto the cloak again, because it's a Dark Reaper going onto black. I don't want to turn it gray, but it looked really, really nice. It looks like some good wear on the bottom of his cape and gives some nice definition down there. So now it is time to complete all his little buttons that will be gray, as well as the belt buckle. I'm going to use uniform gray from Army Painter to paint up all the little buttons across his two little panels here, his belt, and the buttons up here that all need to be gray, as well as the parts right here in the midst of his chest plated area, and then the chain that holds his cape onto his body. So there is the uniform gray done for Darth Vader. Once again, the chain that holds his cape onto him, the parts in between the chest area, the chest plating area right here. Of course, I did the three little bumps down here, the three little ticks right there that will paint with a little bit of red on it, highlighted. I did also do a little freehanding, striping down 2 uniform gray stripes down the side of his control panel, because those are on the Darth Vader from the movies. I did a little free handling for the belt buckle, and I did all these little bumps on each side of the model there, and then I freehanded a little bit of gray line under these little bumps here that will be present as green. So now it is time to complete the lightsaber hilt itself, and we're going to use, of course, gunmetal from Army Painter to paint that up. And there is the gunmetal done for Darth Vader's hilt of his lightsaber. Now we're going to move on to a couple of red colors we will be using. First, we're going to use a different red color than the red color I typically like. I like pure red from Army Painter, but I want to try Dragon Red for Vader's buttons, which is going to be this bottom button down here, the buttons that are up here. We're going to tip each of the uniform gray buttons there. And then of course we're gonna do that for the entirety of his lightsaber. Then I'm gonna use Slaughter Red Speed Paint mixed 1:1 with Speed Paint Medium for his lenses to give that dark red color his lenses have. So there's the completion of the Dragon Red and Slaughter Red mixed 1:1 with Speed Paint Medium. Just to give you a better look at Vader's eyes with that Slaughter Red with speed paint medium mix, just a very nice dark color in his lenses. I used about 3 coats to get that coloration on him. And the Dragon Red has completed the lightsaber, our little couple buttons down here, and then we tipped each of the 3 gray buttons that are in the topmost part of his control panel with, of course, that Dragon Red as well. So we have 2 more base colors to complete before we can go into the washing step for the base colors, and that is Angel Green for each of the little buttons on his side area. And we're going to use Kaldar Sky for the last button on his control panel. Angel Green is from Army Painter and Kaldar Sky is from Citadel. And the last 2 base colors have been completed. Angel Green for the 2 little things down here on his belt. Down here, and then of course the one little button here on his chest area. I'm just going to give you a zoomed in look overall of the chest area. I'm not sure if my camera is picking up because these parts are just so little on this model. It may not be easy to pick up, so just a closer look at all those little buttons across the chest panel and the little side panels. So with all the base colors done, it is time to wash them. The only 2 things we are not going to wash is the lenses in his helmet and the little 3 nubs that had the uniform gray and then the dragon blood on top. Those are the only things we are not going to wash that we base coated. For the uniform gray and for the gun metal, we are going to use Dark Tone Mix 1-to-1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. For the blue, or the Kaldar Sky, we're going to use Dragunov Nightshade from Citadel. For the red, we're going to use Karaborg Crimson from Citadel. For the green, we're going to use Contrast Warp Lightning. I'm going to do all of that off camera because there's just so many little fiddly parts to do here, so I'm going to complete that all off camera, return to you all with all those colors washed. Once again, that is Dark Tone Mix 1-to-1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium from Army Painter for the uniform gray and the gunmetal. Karaborg Crimson from Citadel for the Dragon Blood, Contrast Warp Lightning for the Angel Green, and Dragunov Nightshade for the Kaldar Sky. Once again, we are not going to watch the lenses inside the helmet or these 3 little objects on his chest panel that have the uniform gray, and then on top of that the dragon blood red. So there is the wash completed, darkening down all of the base colors, and now it is time to proceed with highlighting up those base colors. First, we're going to use Ash Gray from Army Painter to highlight up all of the uniform gray. So that completes the ash gray highlights over the uniform gray, and now we're going to use 𝐓𝐷𝐃𝐒 Red from Citadel to highlight up the 2 red little switches on his chest panel. We're going to give a half moon crescent shape in each one of the lenses just to give a little bit of reflection, and then we're going to dry brush the lightsaber with 𝐓𝐷𝐃𝐒 Red. So we completed the 𝐓𝐷𝐃𝐒 Red highlight, dry brushing it over the lightsaber, highlighting up the 2 items on his chest panel, and then giving some semicircles in the eyes to give some reflection for Lord Vader. So we only have 4 more colors to complete. First, we're going to use a dot of matte white in each corner of the lenses just to give more reflectivity from them. Then we're going to use Moot Green to highlight the green little items on each part of his belt, or those buttons. Then we're going to use Lothran Blue to highlight the one blue area, and then finally Plate Mail Metal to highlight up the lightsaber. So there is our completed Lord Vader from the Star Wars Legion starter set. So now it is time to complete his base. So here is Lord Vader's base. I have primed it matte black, and we're going to then use Technical Astro Granite from Citadel over the top of it so that he matches my completed Stormtroopers bases. The Astro Granite has dried on top of Lord Vader's base. Now to finish up this base, we will simply use Tyrant Skull from Citadel to dry brush the Astro Granite. And with that, I'm going to remove Darth Vader from his holder, glue him down, and then it's time to move on to Luke. So here is Luke Skywalker from the starter set for Star Wars Legion. So this Luke Skywalker is based on the Luke Skywalker from Empire Strikes Back. So I started out by priming him with Skeleton Bone Primer from Army Painter, and now we're going to wash the upper half of his body, his pants and his shirt, using Dark Tone mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. So the dark tone has dried nicely over the upper body and pants of Luke here. So now we're going to bring back that color using Ushafti Bone from Citadel by dry brushing it over the pants and upper body. The Ushafti Bone has nicely highlighted up the pants and shirt area of Luke Skywalker, so now it is time to move on to his boots, and we're going to use Steel Legion Drab from Citadel to paint them up. So we completed up the Steel Legion Drab on Luke's boots. So it is now time to complete all of his pouches on his belt and the holster for his gun, the strap that holds his gun, and we're going to do all of that in Dirt Spatter from Army Painter. So there is a completion of all of the dirt spatter across Luke Skywalker. I did forget to mention that I was also going to use the dirt spatter for his hair, so I did that as well, but I did it for all his items on his belt, all the pouches on the belt itself, and then the holster where his pistol is, and of course his hair. And then off camera I also used some matte white from Army Painter to paint in his eyes there, because you all know how I don't like to do eyes, so it's a little easier for me to just put a little bit of white in there to show where the eyes are, and then paint around that when we get to the skin. So we're going to complete one more color on the belt, and that's the belt buckle itself, and we're going to use uniform gray from Army Painter to paint that up. So we completed up the belt buckle, completing the belt for Luke Skywalker. So now we are going to finish up the blaster by painting it down with Black Templar contrast paint from Citadel. So we completed the blaster for Luke using the Black Templar's contrast paint. I've been really enjoying using Black Templar's contrast paint to paint up Star Wars Legion weapons because it not only base coats it, but shades the weapon as well. Really, really nice. So we have a few more colors to complete here on Luke before we shade all the base colors we completed. And now we're going to move on to the lightsaber using Caldor Sky from Citadel. So there is Luke's lightsaber, base coated with Caldor Sky from Citadel. So now we're going to deal with his face and his hands, and to do so we're going to use Cobalt Skin from Army Painter. So there is the hands and face done for Luke. We only have one more base color to complete, and that is all of the metal on Luke, which will be all the buttons on his pouches and the lightsaber hilt itself, and we'll be using gunmetal from Army Painter to paint those up. So we completed all of the base colors for Luke as we take a nice close-up look at him. So it is time to wash up all of these base colors. For the belt, holster, gunmetal, and the uniform gray buckle, we will be using Dark Tone mix 1:1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. And we will also do that for the boots as well. For the hair, we're going to use Mid Brown, mix 1:1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. For the flesh of Luke, we're going to use Flesh Wash, mix 1:1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. And for the lightsaber, we're going to use Dragunov Nightshade from Citadel. So once more, the boots, the belt, and the metal will be Dark Tone with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. For his hair will be Mid Brown and Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. For the lightsaber will be Dragunov Nightshade, and for the flesh will be Flesh Wash with 1:1 with Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium. So there is Luke completely washed up. So now we're going to start the process of highlighting what we just washed. So we're going to start with the belt, the boots, and the hair, and we're going to use Fur Brown from Army Painter to do so. I'm going to dry brush the boots and the hair, and then edge highlight up the belt and the weapon holster. So there is the boots, the belt, and Luke's hair all highlighted up with fur brown. Once more dry brushing the boots and the hair with fur brown, and then doing edge highlighting across the belt. Now we're going to do two colors here. We're going to highlight up the gun with Dark Reaper from Citadel, and we're going to highlight the belt buckle with Ash Gray from Army Painter. So there is the Dark Reaper highlighting up Luke's blaster, and then the Ash Gray highlighting up the belt buckle. Now we're going to move on to Luke's flesh, the face and the hands, and we're going to use Corpse Pale from Army Painter to highlight that up. So there is the flesh done for Luke, highlighted up in Corpse Pale from Army Painter. Now we're going to move on to the lightsaber blade, and we're going to dry brush Electric Blue from Army Painter over it. So there is the Electric Blue highlight on Luke's lightsaber. So we only have one more color to highlight, and that's all the metal, the lightsaber hilt, and all the little buttons on the pouches. And we're going to use plate mail metal from Army Painter to do so. So here is a closer look at our completed Luke Skywalker. So now that Luke Skywalker has been fully completed, it is time to do his base. So here is the base that Luke will be standing on, and we're going to base the top to match my already completed rebels, that being the Airspeeder and a single rebel soldier from the core set, and we are going to use Vallejo Diorama FX Earth Texture Desert Sand. So the desert sand has dried over the top of our base. So now we're going to dry brush it with Tyrant Skull. And once I've completed that dry brush, I'm going to glue Luke Skywalker down to his base. So there is our Lord Vader and Luke Skywalker completed. Now I'm going to push my models one step further by using my airbrush to put in some object source lighting for these two models with their lightsabers. Now if you yourself don't feel comfortable doing object source lighting, that's perfectly fine. For you, I would simply finish the rims of the bases, the color of your army. So for Lord Vader, since the rims of my Imperial Stormtroopers are black, I'm going to use matte black from Army Painter to paint up his rim. For Luke, since the rims of the rebels I've completed so far is Steel Legion Drab, I'm going to use that on his rim. That is from Citadel. And then I would varnish both models with an anti-shine varnish. Then, after I'm done varnishing, I'm going to come in with some Art Coat Technical from Citadel to paint it over Lord Vader's eyes to give him that glossy shine look we see in the movies. Now, if you want to see the object source lighting or give it a try yourself, then here we are. So, I'm going to mask off these models using Silly Putty, so the only areas that I'm going to be getting my paint on is going to be the areas of the object source lighting. So I masked off the areas with my Silly Putty. So Luke's area is going to be the top of his head around here where the lightsaber is hitting him. And then for Lord Vader, it's going to be this small section and his base as well. So I'm going to drag out my airbrush. I'm going to thin down some Dragon Red for Lord Vader and some Caldor Sky for Luke Skywalker. Of course, I will thin that down outside of my airbrush so I don't clog it. Then after I'm done with the object source lighting, I'm gonna come in to the areas I hit with the airbrush, and I'm going to dry brush Wazdaka Red for Lord Vader over that area, and Electric Blue over that area for Luke. Then after that, I'm gonna do the rims of the bases in matte black and Caldor Sky, varnish them, put some technical art coat over Vader's eyes, and both these models are ready for the tabletop. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this May the 4th painting video. May the 4th, the day we celebrate Star Wars. Still one of my favorite sci-fi franchises out there. I grew up with Star Wars, I grew up with Star Wars toys, with the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and while I do think Disney's 7th movie is probably their best, and 8 and 9 don't exist at all, those don't exist, Star Wars is still great. My love is still the Clone Wars era of Star Wars, but the original trilogy is a lot of fun too. And you know, painting this Lord Vader and this Luke Skywalker was a lot of fun, especially when you push yourself to try those new techniques like object source lighting. While I think Lord Vader came out much better for object source lighting than Luke, they were both experiments for something I had never tried before. And that's something you have to do in painting. Try new things. It may not be great the first time you try it, but try again until you get it. It's important in this hobby to continue to evolve, continue to try things. I may even try this object source lighting in plasma weaponry for Warhammer 40k now to give that feel and that really cool, unique effect that you could get from plasma weapons. So gotta try it in more things now. But both models look great, and I'm glad to have them in my collection and glad to have them ready for the tabletop when I get to play those games of Star Wars Legion. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Lord Vader and Luke Skywalker. What should I have improved with? What do you think about the techniques and all of that? And let me know, have you tried object source lighting before? How well did it go for your first time? And all of that. And let me know what's your favorite Star Wars. Is it one of the prequel trilogies, the original trilogy? Maybe you're into the sequel trilogy. Maybe the spin-off like Rogue One, Solo. Maybe you're into like the TV shows like Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars, or even Bad Batch. Or maybe you're into some of the Disney ones like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka. Let me know all of that down in the comments. And while commenting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify my videos go live for you. And with that, on to the glamour shots, and may the Force be with you.